this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 104 of the Eco-Cha Tea Club, a competition-grade Wenshan Baozhong tea from Taiwan. Batch 104 of the Eco-Cha Tea Club is a competition-grade Wenshan Baozhong tea from Taiwan, particularly from Pinglin in the greater Taipei area in northern Taiwan. I think the name of the tea Wenshan is more historically related, and it does have some deep history. Wenshan Baozhong was, as far as I know, the first Taiwanese tea to be exported to Europe and America in the late 1800s, thanks to John Dodd, a British guy who came over and started working in the tea industry in Asia in the 1880s and did a lot to get things going, particularly here in Taiwan, in terms of at least, making it a commodity that was being exported to the world. Then the Japanese came in 1895 and had their own plans of how to work the tea industry. We won't get into that in this video. But the end result is that these pre-Japanese occupation era teas did survive through that colonization and are still thriving today. Baozhong is one of three in the northern area or Taipei area that are historical. Wenshan Baozhong and Muzha Tieguanyin and Sanxia Biluochun are the three big tea types that have historical roots in that area. I think Wenshan Baozhong perhaps is the earliest of them all. Having said all that, it is a very special and unique tea. It has its own character, very distinctive character, based on the processing methods that they use. And it's a partially oxidized, unroasted tea, similar in this respect to the high mountain teas that have made Taiwan famous in recent decades. But the specific difference between Wenshan Baozhong and high mountain tea is that Wenshan Baozhong is only curled and not tightly rolled, like most of the oolong teas here in central Taiwan. That affects the flavor profile, and that's what gives Wenshan Baozhong its special character. It has this freshness that can't really be beat by the tightly rolled teas. And it also has a depth of flavor that's unique. It's very, it's specific, but it's also difficult for me to convey in words. I go to deep green, trying to maintain that there is a green freshness, but it's not the same sort of green freshness that you get from a lightly oxidized high mountain oolong, for example. And I think it has to do with the uniformity of the oxidation in the leaves when they are only curled, and also the preservation of the freshness because the leaves maintain their integrity, their structural integrity much more, even on a cellular level. So it is guessing for me. I don't have scientific proof, but in my experience, the compounds in these leaves maintain their original composition more than when the leaves are manipulated, much more when they're compressed and then tightly rolled. The end point is the flavor difference is quite obvious. And I'm going to get right into that now because I'm not really dying to take a sip of this tea. I've been staring at it for minutes now. Let's give you the quick brewing breakdown. I believe this is 180 milliliters. I used water right out of the kettle, so close to boiling. It's probably 95, maybe even closer to 90 degrees Celsius. I put 9 grams of tea leaves in this 180 milliliter pot, and I brewed it for 50 seconds on the first brew, and then I dropped it down after because I figured the leaves have been moistened and are heated at this point after the first brew. So I went from 50 seconds to 40 seconds on the second brew, back up to 50 seconds on the third brew, and then for 1 minute on the fourth brew. My working theory that continues to be supported with each brew, most of the time at least, is that with these curled leaf teas, they open up really quickly and they release what they have much more quickly than tightly rolled leaves. And when you brew it more strongly, either with more leaves in the pot or for longer lengths of time, it'll get stronger, obviously, but the subtleties are lost. So that's what I'm shooting for with this brewing method, to capture those more subtle flavor notes. It's very herbal. What type of herb? When I was brewing the leaves, when I was brewing the tea, I smelled the leaves when they were steaming in the pot with the lid off. Let's see what I got here. Yeah, this is not really offering much. It's totally room temperature now. But when there were leaves steaming in this pot, it was very fresh herbal character. And I thought, it's not really intense. It's not like thyme or oregano, or we say oregano where I come from. So I was maybe marjoram or sage, something a little mellower but with substance. And it does have substance. I'm going to go to the second brew here. So the one classic character for Wenshan Baozhong to me is deep green herbal. It's very fresh, and now, I should wait. Definite floral notes lingering in the nose. I suppose, like savory herbs, they have flowers too. So there's this kind of like gray area between different blooms and what they offer. It's not super perfumey, but it does have a perfume, and it's more of a like a deeper perfume rather than a very high note perfume. I definitely feel like I'm getting floral notes in the aftertaste as I move along here. It's very refreshing and satisfying. If you're into herbal notes, this tea has got them for sure. Competition grade aspect of this batch of tea. Quick background, I went up to our regular source and he had already destemmed the teas and had entered batches of tea into the smaller competition. There are two local farmers association. Shiding is the smaller one, which they're all kind of neighboring communities. And he had just gotten the results of the award results the day before I went up, and he got second place category, which is well within the top 10% from one of the batches he entered. And he hadn't gotten the results for the Pinglin Farmers Association yet. This batch of tea, he prepared and was ready to enter it, and then decided to go with whatever other few that he had prepared. And that comes down to, he said, in like, you know, I tasted, I think 7 samples of tea, and our normal in-store batch is a heartier brew. It's a little more substantial than this one. Maybe the leaves are slightly more mature. I think the leaf material is really close. But we were talking about how one is more full flavored than another, and even the aromatic profiles are seemingly more pronounced. But he said in the competition, the process of brewing the tea, they're using 3 grams of leaves, brewing them for 5 minutes in a 150 milliliter cup. So that really, there's something about if the leaves have like more flavor to offer, it could go over the line, so to speak, in terms of their quality standard that they're aiming for in this competition. So he purposely has to choose a more delicate flavor profile so that it doesn't over brew with this tea judging brewing method. The take-home point there is that the tea judging brewing method is far away from what we do at home. Basically, the brewing method for the competition is to bring out the shortcomings of the tea. But how is it going to taste in our teapots and in our teacups is what we need to assess. And This one was, he had decided it was definitely competition within the spectrum, but he went with others. He said, well, they ended up not really liking my other ones either. The competition that he would have entered it into, the second one, he didn't get high ranking awards this year. It definitely is a gamble. So he got this, top 10%, top 8%, I think, award from the other competition. He got the lower ranking awards for the larger competition. The guy knows what he's doing. He has won top 2%, and he has a long history of being known for his consistency of quality in his local industry. That's enough of the accreditation for our source. We really like how he operates overall, and we know we're going to get good tea from him every time. There's just something about the headiness of this tea that is beyond some of the highest quality high mountain teas. Pinglin is a lower elevation area. They machine harvest their leaves. Their processing methods are different. To get a little bit geeky right now, the biggest noticeable difference in their processing is that they do a less either solar withering, or they have a heated fan method to be able to do it indoors in inclement weather. So less to that first step and a longer indoor withering step. So it's like air controlled, the temperature and moisture controlled indoor environment, and that's when the leaves slowly wilt. And that also, I feel, is a part of the uniformity in the transformation of these leaves. Much less tumbling, and then the tumble heating is the leaves are not dried as fully. So they're keeping a freshness all the way through the process. And then the biggest one is at the end. The leaves are only curled and dried in the conveyor belt dryer. None of that really intense compression and rolling that goes on with high mountain tea, as I've said a few times already. So that's my impression of how Baozhong keeps its fresh green quality, although they take out that green grassiness much more effectively than the high mountain teas in general. This is definitely just so much deeper in its flavor notes than vegetal or grassy, which is common in high mountain tea. They purposely keep it at that minimal level of oxidation to maintain the high floral notes. I'm really enjoying this. This is the fourth brew. I'm just going to take another sip. Oh, I should take a sip of the mixed one too. I think because I did the faster brewing methods, I can't really taste much difference between the brews. Very solid throughout. I'm sure it could go for at least 2 or 3 more brews without noticeably changing, or at least without depleting the flavor profile to the point of being done. I don't know what it tastes like. I just get deep green herbal notes that finish with this very pronounced floral bouquet. There you have it. Competition grade Wenshan Baozhong tea, spring 2024. It was a good spring up in the north. They had enough rain, and things went well for them this year. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next month.